6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.
Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Just playing with more cups and clay and stuff. A couple more cups out of the kiln.
Oh,
More
good Lord.
Shot glasses. Yeah. Yep.
Well, they're pretty interesting.
They are interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Today we're actually doing big
Scott's
mugs.
having fun.
He is having the time of his life. Yep.
I bet. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. He's really wanted to get into this side of things for a long time. It's amazing that you guys lucked into this situation to get all this stuff.
It's crazy. It's his vision totally, because when I saw those molds for sale, I'm like, oh, well, we wouldn't want that. And he's like, no, hear me out. Yes, we would. And magic is happening. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's exciting. Y'all probably can't hear her, but Lily's crying in the next room, my granddaughter. Rhonda's got her. My son will be home here in just a few minutes, but she just woke up from her nap. So we've been having a lot of fun now that her mom is back at work, getting to babysit.
Yes.
It's quite the thing. We've had to transform my living room from 3D Print Central, mostly, to Baby Central.
Yeah.
We had to get the pack and play that has the changing table and the bassinet, and we have a swing and
all the gear.
All the baby gear, and then everything she arrives with every time she comes. It's like a whole
It's always
room
amazing
of
to me
stuff.
that someone that tiny can take up that much space.
I know. But she really does. It's like all the basics you gotta have.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time with that.
Absolutely. Well, it's been quite the interesting day, hasn't it?
It really has. You know, it looked like maybe we were going to get a verdict out of the Karen Reed jury.
Yeah.
And then they went home, which worries me that this is a hung jury. They had some questions for the judge. Probably the most important one being about the goddamn form.
Again.
She's doing it again. They had questions about the form, about the jury form, because there's an operating under the influence charge on there, and they wanted to know what was the time frame, at which point were they considering her to be operating under the influence? Was it at the 12:45 or 12:30 period, or at the 5 o'clock in the morning time?
Right.
And then they also wanted to know, if we found her guilty of that charge, does that mean she's guilty of everything that's listed above it? Because again, this judge,
and this form
is such an idiot. And you know, the defense has again tried to get them to change the form because it seems confusing. Now you got the jury coming back. They've been deliberating since Friday.
Yeah. And
now they're coming back with questions on the form. There were a lot of rumors swirling around about maybe they were going to come out with a verdict today because they appeared to be more dressed up than usual when they arrived for court. Yeah. And so some of the folks that are there just live streaming were like, do they know something we don't know? And so there was really, after the jury questions, were really a lot of questions about, are they going to come back after lunch with a verdict? And then they didn't, which makes me think they've got one or two on the fence.
Yeah. Well, it kind of looked like, okay, maybe they're acquitting on the manslaughter and murder charges, and they're only going to convict on
operating under the influence.
Yeah. And now that seemed to be most likely, and now they went home. So, yep, another day of Karen Reed.
Right, and the judge wouldn't actually answer the question. She didn't really give them any guidance, which is bullshit. As usual, this judge is ridiculous. Right? And Irene says, as a juror, I would be so upset that there is no guidance with these important questions that can send someone to prison. Right. This is a question the judge should be able to answer.
It's a
Why
question the
can't they
judge should be
clarify
willing
this?
to answer. It
Right.
feels like such a setup that
It is.
we're giving these vague answers, that we're giving this form that's hard to fill out, that we don't understand. Like, how is that justice?
It's
I
not.
just don't understand this. And whether you think she's guilty or not, this isn't justice.
No. No. I mean, if you want to convict someone, you need to do it clean.
Well, the jury form should be
And
the
there's
easiest and
already, we
clearest
know
thing in
this
the
isn't a
world.
clean trial.
Not at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Frustrating, concerning.
Very
We'll see what
concerning.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, but with that, gosh, we have an entire show of gun crime for you because we had an entire weekend of gun crime
Yeah.
in this country. And I know that we're not even covering all of it. We're just covering some of it. It's insane. And I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I'm just going to kick it to you for our first case.
Yeah. Well, Salt Lake City was one of many, many cities across the country on Saturday that had No Kings rally, a protest. And Salt Lake City's rally had a huge turnout, lots of people there. We know some of you guys were there. I have other friends that were there. And unfortunately, there ended up being some violence there. And to be honest, I don't know what to think. I do not know what to think. I think we need more information at this point. What happened? Yes, Amber, you were there. Yeah, very scary, terrifying. People were just marching along, and then suddenly there's gunfire. I have a couple of videos.
Oh, are you serious?
And people start running. Terrifying. The initial report was that this man right here, Arturo Gambino, had stopped at a corner with a backpack and pulled out an AR style rifle and started running towards the crowd and aiming towards the crowd. And that two men that were volunteer peacekeepers were standing there. They were in some kind of like a fluorescent vest. Initially, it was said that they yelled at him to stop, and he kept running, and one of the men fired on him. Arturo was struck, as well as a man in the crowd who was just a protester doing nothing at all, and he was killed. Arturo was injured and taken to the hospital and then taken into custody. That seemed pretty clear cut. But there's video now coming out of Salt Lake that shows him not running. And that's causing some real concern. There he is. Here's the peacekeeper. In that video, it appears that they start shooting and he starts running.
Yeah. That
I'll
doesn't
show it
fit the
again.
original story.
It doesn't. I'll show it again so you guys can see. You know that goes quick. I'm going to stop it there. So you see Gamboa. And then right down on the right-hand side in the corner, you see the guy in the vest.
Okay.
I don't know what to think at this
I
point.
don't even see him holding the gun.
I
He
know.
has a backpack on. We
I
know the
know.
gun was in the backpack when he was arrested,
Right.
but he doesn't even appear to have the gun in his hand.
It certainly doesn't look like someone charging at the crowd
No,
in
it
that
doesn't.
video, but that's just one angle as well.
Right?
We don't know. We don't know what really happened. At some point, I hope that we do. There's been some questions about these peacekeepers. Who are they? The shooter has remained unnamed. He's cooperating with the police. Both of the men that were there together in the vests were taken into custody to be questioned, and then they were released. We don't know.
We
At this
know
point,
he's got military
we know he's a
experience.
veteran. Yep.
Yeah.
We also know that Gambino is being charged with murder.
Gamboa.
Gamboa, yeah, Gambino. I keep saying it.
It's not a mob
Ga-
hit.
Gamboa is being charged with murder, and because
Right.
he was supposedly, involved in some kind of activity that led to this happening, illegal activity. The problem is, was he? And I'm
Was
not on
he?
anybody's side, so don't come at me. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just asking questions. If he'd ever fired his gun, it wasn't illegal for him to have the gun.
No. It was stupid, but
Stupid.
it wasn't illegal.
His friends say that he was known to come to protests and rallies and stuff like that with a gun like that. This is known to him. I have a lot of
Okay.
questions. I'd like to know if the gun was loaded.
Right.
Or how much ammunition he had with him and things like that. I mean, initially when I saw this, I was like, my God, they saved a mass shooting. It's really super sucks if somebody got shot and killed, but they saved a mass shooting. But the more that's coming out, the more I'm wondering if that's even true. Yeah.
Well, obviously there were a ton of people right there.
Right. I'm
And so
sure
I would
there's
imagine
a
there
lot
are
to
a lot
sort
of
through.
witnesses.
Yeah. Amber said, from what I've heard from my friends that were closer to the incident, he was holding the rifle but pointed it at the ground when he was shot at, but I didn't see it firsthand. Okay, interesting. So, and maybe we just couldn't see in that video, of course.
It's really far away.
And he
I'm
was in
hoping they've
black
got
and
closer. I would imagine in downtown Salt Lake, there's going to be
there should be a ton of
footage
video.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus, tons of people would have been filming that as well.
Right. Yeah.
Just filming the protest itself. So,
What was this reason for? What was the reason for shooting him, Christine? Right. Where's the Rittenhouse people? Because I don't know, you guys. And again, I'm not taking sides either way. I just think that there's a lot more to play out in this, and I'm very curious about what happens. I do want to show
definitely.
you the victim. This is the victim. He is a Samoan. He was on Project Runway, father
Oh.
of two. And I have his name. It is Alu. That's his last name.
He went by Offa.
Offa, yep.
I read a lot of things about him from just people saying what a cool guy he was and what a good person and good dad. And
Arthur Falasa Alu, but he went by Offa. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very sad. The whole thing is very sad, and none of it should have happened. Per normal.
No.
Per normal. So we'll keep a close eye on this one and keep you guys abreast. It's a very complicated situation, it seems. And we'll see. I mean, obviously,
tensions are really, really high right now. And these are the concerns that I always have with people just being out in public with a gun.
Right.
Because you don't know.
Right.
You have
What
no
was
way
his
of
reason
knowing.
for being there with a gun?
Good question.
Good question. Protection, I guess.
Well, and what about the security guy? Was he supposed to be carrying a gun? He wasn't there in a police capacity.
No.
He was a volunteer for the protest organizers. And did they, I highly doubt they said, please bring your guns.
Right.
But this is why that good guy with a gun thing doesn't fly ever. Who was the bad guy in this situation?
Right.
Or even was there a bad guy in this situation?
Was there a bad guy? And it resulted in someone's death.
Yeah.
This stuff gets super
Well,
complicated.
and Gamboa was shot in the stomach. He was pretty
Yeah.
seriously injured too.
Yeah, Gamboa was injured as well. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're damn lucky that only 2 people were shot
Yeah.
in that situation.
Right. Utah's an open carry state, just like Idaho is. They can do that. Every year at Rexburg Pride and last couple of years at Idaho Falls Pride, there has been a man wandering around with an AR, just
Yep.
weaving through the crowd, not doing
We'll be there
anything,
next
but just
Saturday.
making people very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just being an asshole.
And the first time we saw him at Pride with a AR, my daughter walked up to a police officer and she's like, "That guy has an AR." And he's like, "Yep." She's like, "Well, that's terrifying." And he goes, "She's not breaking the law. There's nothing we can do about it unless he actually threatens someone with it."
Yeah. Even in a public place like that, even in this
Yeah.
country, with the number of mass shootings that we have a year, that's still okay.
Yeah. It's very scary. Well, supposedly they were there to stop shit. Yeah. Right. Amber said that she's been to lots of protests and never seen anyone carrying a gun there. Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be.
But this is a mess. It's a big, scary, sad mess, and an innocent guy died, and that's what sucks more than anything out of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That poor man's family. God almighty.
Doing not a damn thing wrong.
To lose him like that.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on this one, and as more info emerges, we'll share it with you. Until then, I'm going to turn it over to you for our main case.
Well, friends, as I'm sure you know, in the early morning hours of Saturday, a man visited the homes of several politicians in the state of Minnesota with intent to murder them. His name is Vance Boelter. This is him right here.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I didn't know until I started researching this case is that he actually visited 4 homes.
I didn't know that either.
And only successfully carried out shootings at 2.
Wow.
Which I find terrifying. So let me give you the kind of the rundown on what happened. Let me tell you first about how he was caught, because see something, say something hero Wendy Thomas knew that the police were looking for this man, had been visiting her neighbor, was walking home, and saw a man dressed in what appeared to be kind of tactical gear. She thought at first he was someone from the SWAT team, was crouched down in the grass near her home.
Wow.
She looked at him for a minute, and she said she first thought maybe it just was the police looking for that guy, and then she realized they were on private property and that they would have come to ask before they did that. And they hadn't. And so she called the police and said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but there's a guy squatting down in the grass near my house." He went into the culvert, and the police immediately responded to there because, they were out looking already all over the place. And they called for him, and he came out. I guess he crawled out on his belly because he's a chicken and decided that he didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Because probably had he stood up, or if he'd resisted at all, I would imagine that they probably would have just shot him.
I would imagine they would have let him up.
This is him after he surrendered himself to the police. So let me tell you a little bit what happened on Saturday morning. This all started around 2-ish in the morning on Saturday morning. And he started in Champlin, Minnesota, Boelter's first stop. He went to the home of Senator John Hoffman. He was dressed like a police officer. He was driving a black SUV. It had police lights that were on it. And he was wearing a latex, like hyper realistic, like it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
fashioned after someone's face mask.
It's horrifying. Yeah.
He looked like this on their ring cam.
Mm-hmm.
He came to the door. He knocked really loud. He identified himself as police.
Yeah.
When they came to the door, he yelled, "This is the police, open the door." He told them that there had been a shooting reported at their home
Yeah.
and asked if they had any weapons on them. At first, he was shining his flashlight in their faces, and so at first they thought he was a cop.
Sure.
He's dressed like a cop. He's wearing a badge. He's got this weird thing on his face. He looks official-ish.
It's what you
but
would
after
expect.
Right, somebody pounds on your door at 2:00 in the morning and says they're police, you're gonna think they're probably police.
Right.
Note to self: don't ever assume that. Eventually, the Hoffmans were like, "Wait a minute, you're not a cop. What the hell?" They figure it out
Mm-hmm.
that this is bullshit. So he changes his story and says this is a robbery and pushes himself into the house. He shot Senator John Hoffman first and then shot his wife. Senator Hoffman was shot 9 times and his
Wow.
wife was shot 8. He then ran from the residence, and the Hoffman's daughter, who was home at the time, called the police. The Hoffmans have both survived.
Yeah. By some unbelievable miracle.
Yes, by some unbelievable miracle. So there's been a statement put out by Yvette Hoffman that John is undergoing multiple surgeries. She must be in slightly better condition than him because she's been able to make a public statement.
Yeah.
But that he is requiring multiple surgeries, but they do believe that he is going to survive.
Yeah.
So then this man went to Maple Grove, Minnesota. This is the home of another Minnesota lawmaker. I'm not even going to say the name of the person because at this point, I think it's a little terrifying
Yeah.
to even talk about.
What could have
Because I
happened
hope
to
to
all of
God
them?
he didn't have a partner, honestly.
Yeah.
He went to this lawmaker's home, rang the doorbell. He said, "This is the police, open the door. This is the police, we have a warrant." Well, this family was on vacation, thank God, and not home.
Oh my God. Saved their lives.
Yeah. He then goes to New Hope, Minnesota, to the home of another Minnesota lawmaker. However, he didn't go to the door. What happened is when the Hoffmans were shot, and that was reported, then the police started fanning out to all of their local Congress members in the area to their homes, thinking, holy shit, how many people are going to get hit? And so he was parked a little ways down the street from this lawmaker in Minnesota in this black police-looking SUV with some kind of a license plate that said police, which somebody, if you're in Minnesota, help me out here. Do their license plates say police on them? Ours don't. I mean, you can tell it's police, but it doesn't say police. But he had some kind of a license plate that he had made or had made that said police on it.
Wow.
So he's in this SUV, his lights are going, and a patrol officer pulls up and sees him, tries to talk to him, and he refuses to speak. He's just looking straight ahead in the vehicle. The officer still, at the time, thinks this must be another officer. And so she just waits there for backup to join her, and he takes off. By the time backup joined her, he had gone. So whatever he was doing was convincing enough that this officer just thought he was another police officer.
Unreal.
This is when he goes to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
I mean, he's been planning this for a hot minute.
Oh my gosh. The planning and the preparation that has gone into this is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So then He goes to the home of Representative Melissa Hortman. And he gets into the house very quickly and shoots and kills Rep. Hortman and her husband, Mark, very quickly, one shot each. Like he's kind of getting better as he goes.
Apparently.
The police arrive at the Hortman's house as he is coming out the front door.
Yeah.
He also shot and killed their dog. The police exchange gunfire with him. He manages to get away, and then they discover the Hortmans deceased.
Yeah. And the Hortmans were there because of the other shootings, right? Somebody sent.
Well, yeah, the police were there. The police were heading there. Like,
Right.
There's alerts going out everywhere.
Right.
Get to the homes of all of
So
our
they went to the Hortmans'
local
house to
Congress
check on
people.
them. Yes.
Right, and arrived just as the shooting had occurred.
God.
And then he was missing for a day.
Yeah.
In the meantime, they find in his car notebooks with lists. He had a list, at least 45 people on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Lawmakers and political people. A lot of them had, if they weren't actual politicians, had something to do with Planned Parenthood. So there's a thought that this has something to do with abortion, but we don't know yet, really. This guy is weird. The situation with him is weird. There have been a lot of things go around about him that turned out to not be accurate. First of all, he lives in two different homes.
Right.
He has a home with a wife and children.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has another home that he lives at part-time where he has roommates.
Right.
And initially, it was thought that he actually owned a security company. He does not. He actually has a part-time minimum wage job. How he affords these two houses, and there's a lot of unknown things about him. But they did find a note in his car also confessing to what he's done. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of writing. As a matter of fact, they have already used the word voluminous. Officials have used the word voluminous about writing. Now, they have said that none of it is like a clear manifesto. It's tactical stuff. It's the names and addresses and like identifying information of the houses and things of all the people on his list, because he's been using the internet to gather the home addresses of all of these people. Yep. They also confiscated a lot of guns, I guess. Yeah. Quite at least 5 guns, a whole bunch of ammunition. They keep saying he had No Kings flyers, which of course the No Kings protests were on Saturday. No, he didn't. He had written, or someone had written, No Kings, like in Sharpie on a piece of paper, and then he'd photocopied that like 50 times. And that was in the car. So it's not a No Kings flyer. That's a piece of paper that says No Kings. But yes, he has been stalking all of these people.
Was that a red herring, I wonder?
I don't know. It's so weird. Why do they keep saying No Kings? Like it's a flyer for the protest? No, it isn't. It's just a piece of paper that says No Kings.
No Kings.
Let's see. I can tell you some more things. He is actually in the custody of the U.S. Marshals right now. He has been charged in state and federal court, although it looks like the feds are going to take precedent and charge him first. But it wasn't flyers, though. It didn't have any location information on them. Because that's right, Paul. If he had flyers, it would be to get locations right for the protests themselves. Maybe there was an intent to attend some. I don't know. Why he would have those flyers that just say that is super weird. Very strange.
No Kings mean? Yeah, for some of our listeners that aren't here in the U.S., obviously, we should clear that up. There was a huge amount of protests over the weekend, and they were calling it No Kings because there are a lot of people here in the U.S. that are worried that Donald Trump is trying to become a dictator, that he believes he's the king here, not the president, and not really fulfilling his role as president. And so those protests were based around that. So that's what they were about.
Yeah. Um,
And just basically a protest of the current administration and the way things are going.
right. And there have been a bunch of No Kings protests leading up to this.
Yeah.
But this one was to happen on the same day as Donald Trump's birthday and the military parade that he put
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they coincided. So we don't know why that is. This
Yeah.
man is 57 years old. He did make his first appearance in federal court on Monday. One of the reasons the feds want him is because Minnesota doesn't have the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
He has been issued a bench warrant and a $5 million bail in state court in Minnesota as well. He did not appear at that hearing, however, because the feds have him.
Yeah.
He has also asked for a public defender and says that he can't afford to hire an attorney.
Yeah.
He's been charged with stalking and murder and attempted murder. Let's see. There, of course, lots of extra security on all of the people who are on his list.
Yeah.
Yes, Amber says, I'm confused why he was apparently living with a Papa John's employee. So he has 2 residences. One of them is his wife and children. The other one, he has a couple of roommates, including the Papa John's guy that gave an interview that said he does not have a security company. He kind of wants to, and he's been amassing the stuff to have one. And maybe this is just the way he's been covering for getting the tactical gear and the vehicle and the lights and all the stuff that he's obtained for these shootings.
Perhaps. Well, and that
but
guy
he lives
claimed to be
part-time
his
there.
best friend as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very strange situation. Very strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why. But there's beefed up security on all of the people who are on the list. They all have police presence and stuff in their lives right now because we have to be sure that there wasn't anyone else working with him, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
But let me tell you, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the text messages that he sent his family. Oh, first, let me get to the federal charges. Are count 1, stalking Rep. Melissa Hortman, using interstate commerce. This is one reason why the feds get involved is because of the stalking.
Yeah.
Stalking State Senator John Hoffman using interstate commerce. Count 3, murder of Melissa Hortman with a firearm. Count 4, murder of Mark Hortman with a firearm. Count 5, firearms offense in the shooting of Melissa and Mark Hortman. And count 6, firearms offense in the shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman. Right now, he's charged with 2 counts of murder in the second degree and 2 counts of attempted murder in the second degree in Minnesota. That has to, some people have been really mad at second degree. Right now, they just get a charge up on them that they know they can prove.
Right.
Because first degree murder, they have to prove intent. There's a lot of stuff. They just get a charge on them to get them in custody. That will become first degree murder. I don't have any chance. I don't have any, there's no chance that that's going to change.
Okay. We're going to kick the troll. I'm done.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. He did shoot the dog. The dog was in bad shape and had to be put down. Didn't really want to have to say that part, but I don't really know why this person is defending a murderer, but whatever. They've found like where he bought his tactical gear and stuff already. Like he was not hiding anything.
Right.
He went to a place called Fleet Farm, which is an outdoor gear type place that sells outdoor gear, firearms, and farm supplies. That's where he got a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But listen to this. He sent a text to a family member, I'm assuming a child, one of his children, that says, Dad went to war last night. I don't want to say more because I don't want to implicate anybody. And then another text he sent his wife. Words are not going to explain how sorry I am for this situation. There's going to be some people coming to the house armed and trigger happy, and I don't want you guys around. His wife
Some
did consent.
people, meaning
Yeah.
law enforcement? Okay.
Yeah, some people. His wife consented to a search of their car. They found 2 handguns, passports for the family, and about $10,000 in cash. So he had prepared for them to run. We don't know anything about the family yet or anything. And I mean, honestly,
Sure.
that's
They didn't
okay.
do this. Right. Yeah.
No.
I can't even imagine, though, how this must feel to everyone who knows him.
Yeah. So the U.S. attorney that is working on this case said it's pretty clear from the evidence that he's been planning these attacks for quite some time. And here it is, there's voluminous writings, as you've seen in the reporting, that were found in his car and his house about his planning, lists of names and individuals. He also said in his writings he had many, many notebooks full of plans, lists of names, surveillance efforts that he took to surveil and locate the home addresses and family members, relationships with these elected officials. They're family members.
Yeah.
He also said, but I have not seen anything involving some sort of political screed or manifesto that would clearly identify what motivated him. Obviously, his primary motive was to go out and murder people. They were all elected officials. They were all Democrats.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think it's just way too speculative for anyone that's reviewed these materials to know and to say what was motivating him in terms of ideology or specific issues. So that's what we know. Let me tell you a little bit about the politicians as victims. I'm not going to talk about the other folks because they're not public figures.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to be, their families are already going through way too much.
Yeah.
This is Melissa Hortman. Hang on. Oh, stupid New York Times. Melissa Hortman has been in the House in Wisconsin for like 20 years.
Yeah.
She's in her 11th term, I think. She was the Speaker of the House for a long time. So she's like a lifelong career politician in Wisconsin, really a beloved person who has fought hard for
Not
her community.
Minnesota.
Or Minnesota, I mean. It's because this kind of stuff happens in Wisconsin and Minnesota. That's why.
That's true.
Anyway, sorry. This really has me a little rattled, you guys. This is very, very scary.
Yeah, it is.
She also, I think, had been training service dogs. She has adult children. All around good person who worked really hard for her community.
Yeah.
And then this is Minnesota Senator John Hoffman. He has been in politics for 2013. And before that, he was really active on his local school board.
Okay.
Obviously has a daughter who was home at the time that the shooting occurred.
Right.
Who somehow managed to not get shot, thank God.
Miracle. Yeah.
And get the police and the paramedics and stuff to her parents quickly. And he is apparently requiring a lot of surgeries after being shot 9 times. So I think he's 60 years old. So those are the basics of what we know. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more come out over time. The fact that he had a list and that he actually managed to get to 4 homes before he met with police is super scary. This guy.
And honestly, had he not seen police, two thoughts. Had he not seen the police coming out of the Hortmans, where was he going to go next?
Right, because so he abandoned the SUV and he purchased a sedan and an electric bike from someone. Just Like,
Wow.
I don't know if they were like for sale on Marketplace or wherever they were for
Uh-huh.
sale. They found the car abandoned on a highway. I wonder if maybe it broke down.
Maybe.
And he had been actually seen riding the electric bike.
Yeah.
So he was prepped, man, and he had money with him.
Mm-hmm.
He had resources. Like, he was going to keep going until they stopped him.
Well, there were pictures of the guns that he had in the vehicle that also had a police scanner. So he was listening, at least
Yeah,
until he probably abandoned one vehicle and picked up with another one
right.
to know what
Yeah,
was going on. Yeah.
yeah, he was. Yes, and there have been some absolutely disgusting and inexcusable things said by national politicians. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say their names because I don't want to give them any airtime, but fuck all
Yeah.
of them.
Right.
Murdering politicians is always wrong.
Yeah.
Always, always.
There's
Murdering
no room for
anyone is
this.
always wrong.
Yeah.
Always. And,
Yep.
what's the problem in this country besides hate? It's the guns. It's the
Yeah.
guns.
We have a
It's the
gun
guns.
problem. Yep.
Yeah. Just the fearlessness to commit crimes like this and to just pound on somebody's door
Yeah.
with gun in hand. I mean, we have created a culture in this country where people have no fear of even owning a gun. They have no fear of carrying a gun in public. They have no fear around being confronted
Mm-hmm.
because they've just always got a gun. And it solves the problems, right? Sure does seem to be causing the problems, however.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll keep an eye on this one. We're not going to cover it like really hard because it's going to get so much national news.
Yeah.
And the ones that do get tons of national news like that, it's just really not. We'll put our attention on things that don't get as much national news because we think
Yeah.
it's important for all the stories to get told.
For sure.
But that is what we know.
Yep.
And with that, Katie, I know you're going to finish this up real quick with a Utah is not okay.
I know you know. Utah's not okay. Besides the shooting that happened on Saturday, on Sunday, on Father's Day, there was another shooting right outside of Salt Lake at a carnival. This was just a suburb of Salt Lake in West Valley, and apparently, and we're not going to have as much about this because it's minors, and so there's a lot we don't know. We don't know if they'll eventually, charge as an adult. Maybe we'll know more. But what we know right now is that what the news is reporting is two groups of people. Are we talking about two gangs? Are we talking about, I don't know, two groups of people, a lot of minors were in some kind of an argument at this carnival in West Valley that resulted in gunshots. And those gunshots resulted in, unfortunately, the death of an 8-month-old baby. Definitely innocent. It also, two other people were shot and killed in that. A 41-year-old woman and who was also a bystander, as well as an 18-year-old man that was involved in one of the groups. A 17-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy were also hit in the arm. And the 16-year-old was taken into custody, and that's what we know. It was terrifying. Oh, the baby was a twin. Oh my God.
Oh, I didn't
Terrifying.
know that.
There's a lot of videos on TikTok, a lot that I'm not going to show you because I'm not, but it's absolutely terrifying. People were just out trying to enjoy, and this happened. There were people that were like packed up against the chain link fence just trying to get out and get the hell out of there because this was terrifying and people died. And then, of course, we have the shooter taken down, but there's just no safety. It's no safety. So it's very sad, and our hearts go out to the victims completely. And again, we may not get a whole lot more information about the West Valley shooting just due to the nature of it, but we wanted to report on it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got.
Whew. All right. Well, that's certainly enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what we have for you. Please
Yeah.
stay safe.
Yeah.
You know, I did a ton of Googling before I reported on that story, and I read it from a lot of different news sources in a lot of different places, because one of the things that we know is that here in the US, we're not getting the straight story from anybody.
Yep.
And it is a policy of ours that we don't report anything unless we can see it, unless we can find 3 reputable sources for the information, if at all possible, to help make sure that we are not adding to any
The
of the
misinformation.
bullshit. Because there was so much information, so much misinformation on that shooting in Salt Lake City, and so much misinformation about the shooter in Minnesota. A lot of things that were reported about him before they caught him that were not true.
Yeah.
So we do, as always, work really hard to tell you the things that we believe to be fact right now. And if we ever find something to not be fact after the fact, we will tell you.
Always. Yeah.
But I would encourage you to use your discernment and to seek sources, multiple sources. One thing I do is I usually seek a source or 2 outside of the United States. Because I want to see if they match what's being told here, because we don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, this is a heavy episode. So sorry for that.
A heavy weekend. Yeah.
Very. So be safe. Take good care of yourselves. Get breaks from this stuff. We're going to. And you know it. We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.
Season 6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.